Welcome everyone back to the GOATcast podcast. As you can see, we have the original, the OG from episode 1 many years ago. Big Nige has returned to the GOATcast podcast. So, yes. So, anything you want to say?
Nah, just good to be back. Hopefully, everything flows right, and maybe we can continue this thing past this episode.
Okay, well, hopefully we will. But let's jump right into our first topic. The NBA has introduced an in-season tournament. They got plenty of details on it, but the players don't even really know what's going on with it. They do count towards their win-loss records, so their regular season records, but the championship game does not, from what I understand. So they have a pool play. From what I can tell, they have different groups, and we're going to go through each group here in a second and give our thoughts on which teams are the favorite from that group, and if there's just a team that shouldn't even waste their time showing up. But so right now we're going to start off in the East. I'm going to start off with East A group, which consists of the Philadelphia 76ers, the Cleveland Cavs, Atlanta Hawks, Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons. What do you think of that group?
Yeah, that group is kind of disgusting, honestly. Just hearing like a lot of those teams, it should really be a cakewalk for Philadelphia. I don't see the Pistons making any noise. The Hawks are not that good. Pacers might be able to scare Philly. They might give them a good game. I don't really see, unless Donovan Mitchell goes berserk, I don't really see Cleveland doing too much noise. I think they have a lot of pieces that they fit together, but it's kind of an odd fit. And if your main punch is Donovan Mitchell or a sometimes burst from their point guard,
Darius Garland?
Garland. And he can give you some points here and there, but it really comes down to Donovan Mitchell, and he's kind of undersized. So I would say Philadelphia is the best team to win that one.
Yeah, you look at those 5 teams, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Which team should be the favorite? I don't know if Adam Silver and his crew did that purposely, but as you said, that's a cakewalk for Philly. Unless they just have a terrible injury or something crazy happens, they should have no issues getting through that group. So let's go to East B, which is comprised of the Milwaukee Bucks, the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat, the Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets. And I hear you have some feelings on the New York Knicks. I'm gonna go first, so I can let you get it off your chest what you have to say. The Bucks have played up and down, so I'm not sure. Miami, the Knicks, they're not bad. They can pull off some impressive wins. So the Bucks are probably their own worst enemy. Here is they have to show up, and they had to play defense. Their defense hasn't looked that great since Dame has come on board. The Wizards and Hornets, I'm not even going to talk about them. They're fodder. But they do have they have more of a challenge than Philly does, and they do have the Knicks and they do have the Heat, who can show up and possibly put a W on the board against the Bucks. So that's just my 2 cents. Let's hear your thoughts on this group.
So before I get into it, I know there's one important thing to note is that the way you beat teams matters. Like, for example, when I watched the Wizards play the Heat, that wasn't really much of an entertaining game, I'll be honest with you. Wizards got smacked down. But they did mention something where Miami was up by 25 with about 6 minutes to go in that game. And they only ended up beating them by 7. Obviously, Eric Spoelstra kind of pulled the plug, and they let the foot off the gas pedal. But I don't really know how it factors into everything, but I do know the amount, like how you beat a team, definitely factors into some other option with that. But so getting into it, Like I said, Milwaukee should be the heavily favorite. But if I had to pick a team, I probably would go and lean more towards Miami. Now, it might be interesting, but let me explain why. So, like you said, Milwaukee has been very shaky. Obviously, I think new pieces are added, like Dame Lillard. But then you also have Malik Beasley in the starting lineup, which I don't even want to get into that because I saw a post. Someone said that he was supposed to be their defensive stopper now. Yeah, if they're banking on that, then they're in trouble.
Yeah,
but they also have a new coach. Coach Bud is out, and Adrian Griffin, I think, he's their new coach. He's got them running different defensive schemes, different offensive sets. I mean, they used to play a lot of drop coverage. I know that now they're doing a lot of switching, so it is kind of funny to see Brook Lopez, as tall and awkward as he looks on the perimeter, trying to guard people like Trae Young, and they end up getting blown out by that game. But anyway, so I don't really got faith in the Bucks like that. I'm seeing too many perimeter shots from Giannis. I'm not seeing him get downhill with the comfort that we've been used to seeing him. But let's get, because I'm obviously like, we're not going to really bring up the Wizards, the Hornets. They don't really belong in this conversation, winning anything. So then we get to the Knicks. The Knicks they're actually my number 2 team, who I think could actually come out of this East B block and actually win it. But there is one certain player, goes by the name of Julius Randle, and he has been doing some all-time stinkers. Let me interest y'all with some numbers. Okay. So when they played against the Bucks, hard-fought game, my man Julius Randle proceeded to go 5 for 20 in that game. Now, you might think, okay, players are allowed to struggle, and I hear you. But Julius Randle is notorious for falling in love with a non-existent three-point shot that he thinks he has.
Non-existent.
1 for 9, because half of his shots were pretty much on the three-point line. Now, I get it. Milwaukee is a big team. Giannis was guarding him pretty much like 80% of that game. And he had some decent drives on Giannis and the Bucks, but he fell in love with that three-point shot, and we all know the rest. Now, if you think it was just against the Bucks, okay, cool. His previous games in the season, he's given us 3 for 15, 5 for 14, 4 for 15, and 4 for 10. Now, especially that game against the Bucks, where Brunson, out of this world, 45 points, man was looking like literally the best player on the floor. But if his co-star, his second, the 1-2 punch is giving them 5 for 20, they ain't gonna get too far. It doesn't matter how much Brunson brings to the table. If Randall's gonna continue to play this terrible, which I don't anticipate seeing, but for right now, it's awful. They're not gonna go that far. So my pick is Miami. I don't really trust the Bucks right now.
Okay, so we got one Miami. I'm going Milwaukee. I feel like Giannis is going to power his way into a Group B victory. So let's go to EC, which has the Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, and Orlando Magic. And I'll let you start this one out because,
this one is easy. Like the way Boston has looked these first 5 games of the season, beating the Pacers by almost 50 points. Like they've been on a roll. I love the addition of Drew Holiday. I wasn't really sure about Porzingis. I didn't know what version of Porzingis we would get, but we're starting to see that he's finding his role with that team, and he's playing very good basketball for them. So, you could maybe give Brooklyn a puncher's chance, considering that they did have a pretty close game with the Boston Celtics. You're not going to convince me that the Bulls, the Raptors, the Magic are going to give them any kind of scare. Unless Tatum or Brown gets injured or something crazy like that, the Celtics should easily win that little division.
Yeah, I'm thinking Adam Silver did this purposely, that he put these groups together to kind of show and shine some certain teams. But I agree completely. Boston, Porzingis has he's meshed very well with that team. They are firing on all cylinders. I thought they'd lose a little bit defensively with Robert Williams and who was it, Grant Williams leaving, but I think they look just fine so far. Brick Tatum hasn't shown up too much. He's been shooting you out the game. He's actually been on his game so far this season. Jaylen Brown, he can be iffy, but he's played into their scheme pretty well this season so far. He's had his rough nights, but now they have Drew and Porzingis. He can it's kind of okay if he has an off night because they got enough scoring or scorers on the court. None of those other teams really jump out as a challenge to Boston. There could be just one night where they just, trash bag. Tatum shows up. He just shoots them out the game. But on paper, none of those teams match up very well against Boston. So it should be pretty much a cakewalk for Boston. The East brackets look pretty, you the only one that's iffy is B, which has Milwaukee and Miami. But the other ones, you pretty much have a clear-cut favorite. So let's transition over to the West teams, and we'll start with West C. Because I got something to say about West A, but West C, which comprises of Sacramento Kings, the Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, OKC Thunder, and my San Antonio Spurs. So I'm gonna start with that one. I'm gonna start off with that. This is actually a tough division because you've got three teams that realistically could win it in Sacramento, Golden State, and OKC. Then Minnesota isn't too bad. They're the only team so far this season that's challenged the Nuggets at all. And then you have the new GOAT, Victor Wembanyama, for the Spurs, and they got two impressive victories against Phoenix. So they're not fodder anymore. You're not just gonna, but it will matter about Devin Vassell. Is he injured too much for him to play? That could weigh in. But if I'm going by what I've seen, the eye test so far, I got to go Golden State because they actually look pretty good this year. I thought they would be terrible because they're so undersized and they've gotten older with Chris Paul, but they look every bit as much of a contender as they've ever been. So I think they'll probably take it. They've already beat Sacramento twice so far this season. Did they play OKC? They played them Friday? Or who they play?
They played Golden State on Friday.
Yeah, and that was a close game. So you could, one of those teams could catch Golden State. But for right now, I got Golden State taking West C.
Okay. So, yeah, like you said, it's a very interesting group of talent there because you actually have at least three of them have a legitimate chance of winning it. I don't want to dismiss San Antonio or the Timberwolves, but they're like a step or two below these three teams. And getting into who I think win, I mean, the Thunder look really good, man. I mean, the way they played the Warriors, and I'm pretty sure SGA didn't play that game. I don't know if he's injured or what, but they played a really hard-fought game, and I was really impressed with Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
He was giving it to Looney. I mean, I know Looney's pretty slow in the feet, but I mean, he couldn't do nothing with Chet. I mean, and they had this other rookie, something Washington, I think, and they call him J-Dub on the Thunder. I don't know why. He was pretty much running the one at one point, and Chris Paul was guarding him, and he was just using Chris Paul. So I'm gonna have to hold my judgment on how the Warriors, continue to play on the defensive end before I can give them a true nod against these teams. I'm saying in terms of winning it all, I'm a little shaky with the Warriors, but for this West C block, I'm gonna give them the edge. Even though I really want to go more toward the Kings, I'm gonna give the Warriors the edge out of respect for Steph Curry and the fact that Klay's actually hitting his shots this year.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox, is he still out? I think he's still out.
Yeah, he might be out with some kind of injury.
Yeah, so I think ankle or something like that. So yeah, that's gonna be a fun little group right there to watch. And now let's go to West B, which consists of the Denver Nuggets, the LA Clippers, New Orleans Pelicans, Dallas Mavericks, and Houston Rockets. There's only one team that's not like the others in that group. So we can pretty much, Houston's out of the running. So what do you think of this group?
Well, truthfully speaking, I mean, look, I wasn't a big believer in Denver this past few years. I mean, obviously this last postseason definitely was a big game changer for me. I mean, they've been doing their thing in the Western Conference for a few years now, but you just can clearly see they were ahead and shoulders above the rest of the competition. And the same still holds with West B. I mean, like, they just got done beating the brakes off the Mavericks. Like, yeah, it was a semi-close game, but the numbers don't really speak on that game. Yeah. That game was a blowout, and they're just a really big team. I did not notice how big the Denver Nuggets are, but I mean, they're 3 through 4, 6'10", like 6'9", and then Jokic is like 7. Like, that is a big team to contend with. And I mean, I don't know what they were doing, but in terms of the size, I mean, like, I do like their new rookie, the Mavericks. I think Lively. I think that's his name. Yeah, he's unfortunately he's part of that puke, but he's still a really good big man for that team, and I want to see him grow, and I want to see his development, because he could definitely be a sneaky favorite for a later segment we'll have. But in terms of who I think would win, I think it's clearly the Denver Nuggets, and I'd say the second team who has a good chance of sneaking it would be the Clippers.
Okay, I'm pretty much on board with that. Denver, their starting lineup is huge. Like, I don't see how teams can even really contend with a team that shortest guy is 6. Jamal Murray's 6'7", 6'6".
It's like 6'5".
Oh, he's 6'5". Okay, I gave him one. But yeah, that's still huge for a point guard. And with Jokic playing the way he's playing, it doesn't look like they've missed a beat from the playoffs, from the NBA Finals. So, I mean, the Clippers, I've seen them look pretty good so far this season, but I don't know how James Harden is going to mix with that group. I just have to see that first to really have a good idea on how this block will go. But you got to give it to Denver. I mean, New Orleans, they're shaky. Dallas, we just saw what Denver can do with them, and Houston, come on. But yeah, so I'm gonna go Denver for West B block. And now let's go to West A, which consists of the Memphis Grizzlies, Phoenix Suns, Los Angeles Lakers, Utah Jazz, the Portland Trail Blazers. And I'll go first, and I'll let you have the floor. This is a two-team race. As you can see, the Grizzlies are trash this year. I thought they would actually be good, even without Ja Morant, because they were pretty good last year without him in those stretches. But I don't know what happened to that team, but they look like they should be playing at a YMCA right now. Utah's, they're not that bad. They're pretty good. They'll challenge Phoenix and the Lakers, because I hear Devin Booker is back out of the lineup. So old KD can't do it by himself. So they're going to have to really be on point if they're going to make it out of that West A. And the Lakers are the Lakers. They have a few injury bugs going on with Jared Vanderbilt and Taurean Prince, and I believe who was it I was reading about? Somebody else. But they shouldn't be out long. So so I believe that, it's a two-team race, but if I had to pick a team, I'll go the Lakers for this group, because Phoenix, they have too many injuries. Their top guys just can't get in the game. And without those guys, that team is just not built to go far. So going Lakers. So how about, who do you have coming out of West A?
Well, there's a couple things to unpack here, but we'll start, like you said, the Grizzlies, they are really, really bad. And you can point to, obviously, the fact that Ja Morant's going to be out for 25 games. Tyus Jones, big loss for them. Yeah. Somebody that I didn't think. I think it's either Tyus Jones, because Trey Jones is on the Spurs. But yeah, he ran that second unit to perfection. And the way they move, the way they played off of him playmaking. And there's no shade to Marcus Smart because he's a really good player, but he is just not the kind of playmaker that he doesn't get the same gravity because people do not really respect his jump shot like that. And he's a respectable shooter, but he kind of plays like someone that's like 6'8", 6'9", but he's really only like 6'3" or 6'4".
Yeah.
So there's some kind of gravity when you play a certain way. It affects the rest of the players around you. And they just can't seem to win a game. I mean, I thought for sure they were going to beat the Blazers, but you just sometimes like because they were in control of that game for the majority of that game, but just something couldn't click towards the end. They just couldn't close the game out, and they just continued to let the Blazers get out on the break. And that's a young, fast team. So if you turn the ball over too much and don't execute at the end of the ball game, you're susceptible to lose to a team like the Blazers. But then we get down to the Suns, and obviously, like you said, they're just not healthy. Still haven't seen Bradley Beal since the preseason. That back injury must be something serious if he's still ain't on the floor. I don't know what happened to D-Book in that toe. I know he came back and played against the Spurs. Didn't score in the first quarter. I think he got his first bucket closer to that second quarter. But he still looks okay. I need to see him and KD and Beal, excuse me. Mm-hmm. I need to see them get together, finally get this thing going before I have any faith in the Phoenix Suns. I do like the pickup of Nurkic, even though he can't guard a parked car. He's a really decent offensive center.
Yeah.
We get to Utah. They're respectable. Do I see them winning it? I mean, like I said, barring any injury, not really. Blazers, and I mean, like they're a young team. I like Grant. I like Shaedon Sharp. He's a really nice kid. Brogdon's been coming on strong for them, which I thought he was going to kind of get shipped out to another contender like they did for Holiday. I guess they kept him. So,
yeah.
Here we get to the Lakers. Oh boy, the Lakers. Man, it's a bittersweet. So I'm going to pick the Lakers, but not for the reason that you might think. I'm only really picking them because the rest of the competition is pretty low tier, minus the Phoenix Suns, who again, they're just injury prone. And then the rest of those teams aren't really all that good. But the Lakers should beat them. But with the coaching that Darvin Ham's been doing, he's been doing pretty good for us defensively. But offensively, I just don't understand people sometimes. Be nice. But if we have a lineup where LeBron or AD is not on the floor together and we have four guards, i.e. D'Angelo Russell, Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, and Dagon Reeves, these four guys, tallest one of them is like 6'7", and we're going up against a team like the Nuggets with a small lineup. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep it short. I ain't going to be too mean, but if we're going to go far in these Western Conference playoffs, in a really stacked Western Conference, we got to address these coaching woes. Because I mean, man, I understand Rui's been hurt, Vando's been hurt, big wings for us. Christian Wood's been playing pretty well to me. I'd like to see him get a little bit more minutes going forward, but that's just my personal opinion. Jackson Hayes has been really good for us. Still doesn't get as much minutes as I kind of like him to. Kind of the spell for AD's mental lapses on the offensive end. We started on that. But keep it short. I got the Lakers in a tough nail biter against probably the Suns, or maybe like a team like the Blazers could give them a scare. But I still got the Lakers in there.
Okay. Well, with the Lakers still on the mind, let's segue into our next little conversation. And if you know Big Nige, go back and listen to that old episode. He is a huge LeBron James / now Laker fan. He's been a fan of many, many other teams. As we know, LeBron hops around all the time. But how do you feel about LeBron's tenure so far with the Los Angeles Lakers? Do you feel like he's been as legendary as some will say he has been, or has he been somewhat of a disappointment since 2019, which is his first season wearing a Laker jersey? Has he been what you guys expected him to be for your Lakers?
Yeah. So, well, let me preface my comments with this. I will go ahead and say, in no shape or fashion am I a Lakers fan. So I have a lot of friends who are Lakers fans. Okay. They really rock with Kobe Bryant, and they'll always say it's Kobe's town. Rest in peace, the legend. But in terms of LeBron as a Laker, it's kind of hard to really assess this because individually, LeBron has been phenomenal. I won't say phenomenal. I'll just say he's been really, really good for his standards, or for NBA star standards. He's been really good. Now I will say, like, if you go down the list of the years he's been as a Laker, you go back to 2019, his first year there. He's playing with younger players, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma. And he had that team, I believe they were a top four seed in the Western Conference before he went down with a groin injury. And this is probably where we've seen LeBron be not as durable as we know him to be. He's no longer Iron Man, which is definitely kind of puts a little bit more context in how people, at least how I perceive him as a Laker, not as LeBron James, but as a Laker. So then you go from 2019, obviously he never really recovers from the groin injury. I think they end up missing the playoffs. And then we get to 2020. In 2020, they had some ups and downs that year, but I think for the most part, AD finally came onto his own. He was playing because obviously, 2019, they knew LeBron couldn't do it by himself. And there was always rumors about somebody else coming with him, whether it was Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, or Paul George, any other star, because Paul George was coming on really good around that time of year. He was upcoming this free agency, and so we were trying to see which star was going to come and play with LeBron James, because clearly he wasn't going to do it with a bunch of those young cats. That's not the kind of guy LeBron is. So then we get to 2020. We know AD comes. He plays the best we've ever seen him play as a Laker, and then the bubble happens. A lot of people want to say that the bubble was a blessing for the Lakers. I'm going to harp back on the fact that there is some truth to that. But, everybody had to go through the bubble. I know that the home court advantage was something that a lot of teams would have argued that the Lakers benefited from not playing against. But I don't know. I kind of felt like everybody was in the same building, playing the same people. And it was just kind of who was more focused, who was more locked in at the task at hand. And that's where I guess LeBron and the Lakers had that advantage over the other teams. So Anthony Davis played really well that year in the bubble. LeBron, of course, Finals MVP, solidifies his tenure as a Laker with that one championship. So then we get to the next year. We get to 2021. They do some retooling. Not a fan of the retooling, to be honest, because I'm under the impression that why mess with something that you just won with? Why are we not having Dwight Howard as our center? Why we got Montrezl Harrell, who's known for he just gave up a 3-1 lead, and their first reaction, let's bring him in and let's remove some of the pieces that we just won a championship. It didn't make any sense to me. So we bring in Schroeder, we bring in Harrell, shake things up with the roster, losing the first round to the Suns. Now, that was also a year where LeBron got hurt. He had to come back from that, I believe it was an ankle injury or foot injury, some kind of injury. And he had to come back, and obviously he wasn't the same. So again, a lot of LeBron's tenure as a Laker, as I continue to move past it, it's a glaring pattern that players he just always seems to get hurt at the worst time. Don't even get me started on Anthony Davis, because we already know him. It's just day-to-day Davis, okay? You don't know what you're going to get. But as you get to 2022 and 2023, clearly not, obviously 23 in particular, they did some more retooling. Obviously, it was good retooling. And they went from almost missing the playoffs to going and facing the eventual champion, Denver Nuggets. So obviously they lost and got swept. But a lot of those games were really close. And we didn't get to see that same kind of AD in the against the Nuggets. Like, yeah, he played good in game one. I think he dropped almost 40. But outside of that, games 2 through 4, he was pretty underwhelming. Jokic was giving him all he could handle, and AD wasn't doing much back. But overall, if you ask me how I feel as LeBron as a Laker, I don't feel he's reached the same level of stardom as Miami LeBron or Cleveland LeBron, just because he wasn't as durable to impact the games more. He was coming back, rushing back from injury as a Laker, so he couldn't impact the games as much as we're accustomed to seeing LeBron do it. So LeBron, obviously he broke the scoring record as a Laker, so you can't take that from him. He did win a ring with the Lakers. Has he solidified himself to be a Laker great? I think it's not possible for that to happen as currently stated, unless he gets another championship. That I don't see that being the case, but I think he's probably earned enough to get his jersey retired from the Lakers, just because he breaking the scoring record and bringing them another championship. But in terms of being a Laker great, that's probably a different conversation. You'd have to probably evaluate that more. Down after he retires.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask this. I'm gonna let you give a single answer, and we'll save this for a different time. But is LeBron James the GOAT?
Yes, he's the GOAT.
Okay, that's all we needed to hear. Okay, so we will come back to that. We will revisit that down the line with more time. So real quick, because we're running out of time. Your picks for NBA champions for 2024, MVP, and Rookie of the Year.
Okay. NBA champion, I'm going to give that to the Denver Nuggets again. I haven't seen anybody besides the Boston Celtics that are really like in that conversation. But yeah, I go with the Denver Nuggets. MVP, that's going to be interesting. It's still early in the season, but I would probably say voters fatigue probably won't give it to Jokic anytime soon, since they just gave it to Embiid. I'm honestly, I think if the Mavericks can stay hot like they've been and kind of keep that top 3 seed, I think it's going to go to Luka or it's going to go to Jason Tatum. I'm leaning more towards Jason Tatum because they're the most on fire. And then Rookie of the Year, we're going with Wembanyama.
That's easy.
He might be an all-star this year, so like he's going to be Rookie of the Year.
He's going to continue the trend of great Spurs centers. The last rookie center, power forward from the Spurs, Tim Duncan, he made all-star his first year, as did David Robinson. So it's Victor's time. So that's my pick for Rookie of the Year. That's an easy pick. MVP, I'm going to agree with you because I think Jokic and the Nuggets are just too good for them to just give him another MVP because they're just that good. They'll just look besides that and just kind of the Michael Jordan effect. The Bulls were so good that they had to give it to somebody else. So I think Luka is probably the front runner right now. Like you said, if they can stay playing well. And right now, him and Kyrie look pretty good together. And that team looks pretty good. Like I said, Lively has shocked me because he's looking like he should definitely be a rotation player for the Mavs. As far as champions, I don't see anybody beating Denver. As long as Denver stays healthy, there's no team out there that can beat them. Boston, they have the firepower, but I don't think there's just a little something with Boston. There's a maturity thing with Tatum and Brown where they get into these big games and they think they have to do everything, especially Tatum. And I think that will hurt them. And if they get to the finals against the Nuggets, I think that will hurt him because they're facing a team that's just way too big for them to just jack up threes the whole time. They're going to have to utilize Porzingis more and utilize a game plan against a team like Denver. But I don't know if Tatum and Brown and those guys are mature enough to do that. Even though they're seemingly vets right now, they're superstars, but they just lack something. I won't say it's going to be a cakewalk for them, but I think they'll easily repeat. But I think this will be their last year they repeat. I think the Bucks, once Damian Lillard really does get acclimated, I think they'll be a big problem. So that's my picks for postseason and beyond. And so you got any parting words? Because we got 3 minutes left.
I don't think so. I think I got what I need to say about the Lakers, Julius Randle. I got everything on my chest.
Okay.
We'll get more into that whole GOAT debate another day. But
yeah, the GOAT debate will be talked about at some point, so make sure you come back and check us out. So with that, we're going to end the GOATcast episode. I believe this is episode 6. So thank you guys. Like and subscribe, please.
You know.